Start spreading the news.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
New York, I love you. I love New York.
Rose trying to get open, fires away. Bang! It's over! The Bulls win at the buzzer! Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection. Puts up the three. Won't go. Rebound Bosh. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. And it's officially time for March Madness in the NCAA tournament. And who better to have on the show to talk all things March Madness than my guy, Kev. Kev, what's going on, my guy?
It's the deal, Prezi. It's good talking to you. Glad to be here. It's the most wonderful time of the year, man. We got a bracket in front of us. Games kick off tonight, so I'm looking forward to when the actual first round of 64 games kicks off, man. But I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. No better person to talk to about this tournament than you. So let's get right into it, man. We already know, we got some first four in games today. So we'll get to see the actual full, who's playing who. But we know who the four number one seeds are. The Duke Blue Devils, my Blue Devils, are the number one overall seed in the tournament. They won the ACC outright. Again, as usual, gotta, pop a collar for that. Michigan, another number one seed, tremendous year, absolutely dominant. They didn't win the Big Ten tournament, but they were whooping people's ass this year. They did their thing. Arizona, the Arizona Wildcats, another number one seed, absolutely played tremendous this year. Great freshmen, a lot of great freshmen. Jaden Bradley, Big 12 player there. And the defending national champions, the Florida Gators, after stumbling a little bit early in the year, really, really bounced back and played really great. They got a bunch of great bigs and are trying to look to see if they can win their second back-to-back. They won, they're the last, right? Before Connecticut did it a few years back, they were the last team to win back-to-back national championship mid-2000s, So out of those four number one seeds, rank them as far as the from who has the best chance to win the national championship to who has the worst chance to win the national championship for me, Kev.
Man, so to me, it's kind of easy. I think the first is Arizona, right? I mean, I'll be honest, Tommy Lloyd's done an amazing job with that program. I think when you look at this team, Jaden Bradley is the head of the snake. The point guard has been there through all the battles. That front court is vicious between Mo Crevis, Tobel Walker, and Cole Pete. I mean, from a physicality standpoint, it's tough to match up with that. And then you look at the perimeter between Karchenkov, Dwayne Aristode, and then my boy Braden Burries has been killing, right? So I just think from top to bottom, I think they have the most complete team out there. And me personally, they're my favorites going into it. And then when you look at that West region, I mean, it's not too many teams I think could get them outside of maybe Arkansas and Wisconsin. But I'm not really worried about nobody on that side of the bracket if I'm Arizona. After that, I'll probably go Florida in the South. I mean, to me, their biggest threat is easily Houston. But I just think, when you look at Thomas Hout, Ruben Chinyelu, Micah Longton, Alex Condon, that front court is – I mean, to me, they're probably the best in the country. Arizona's right there. Michigan's right there too. But I just think, when you look at that Florida front court, they keep them in so many games because they can guard on the perimeter. They create so many second chance opportunities. And they could play on the ball, off the ball. They catching lobs. They throwing passes to each other. Like, they do everything. So I think I'll put them second. Third, I'm going to go Michigan. Even though it's interesting because the two last teams between Michigan and Duke are both kind of hollow going into this. And that's amazing. I'm putting them 3 and 4. But for Michigan in the Midwest region, I'll be honest, I don't think anybody could beat them. I mean, obviously, like Texas Tech at full strength could have. Obviously, the injury to JT Toppin, puts them in a whole different stratosphere. So I think that's kind of tough. You got the whole Aiden Holloway situation buzzing right now, Alabama, which is super unfortunate. So I don't see them being a threat, of course. So I think Michigan's there. I mean, I would look at maybe Virginia could probably get Michigan, maybe if everything goes right from a shooting perspective and they can get enough stops, but I just don't see it. And then the last one is your Duke Blue Devils. And the only reason I'm putting them 4 is because of, 1, the region that they're in, and 2, the injuries that they're dealing with between Pat Ngamba and Caleb Foster. And I think when you look at that East region, obviously you got you guys, you got us, the Michigan State Spartans, you got St. John's, so I actually do think matches up pretty well with you guys. So I think that'll be an interesting game. I hope that game happens. You got UConn, you got UCLA. So I just think that region is super tough. And then, as I mentioned, like losing Caleb and potentially Pat for this first week, I think you guys will be fine without Pat. Hopefully he can come back for that second weekend, but I just think that region is so tough, and it's just going to be tough to get out of there. So again, I go Arizona 1, Florida 2, Michigan 3, Duke 4.
No, and I understand that completely. Having Duke as having the least chance, because for a team that has the number 1 overall seed, we sure do have a hell of a draw. Even let's say we're going to win the first game. I'm 1,000% confident we will win the opening game, but then we got to take on TCU or Ohio State. That's a tough. That to me, that's probably one of the toughest out of all the number 1 seeds who are going to advance after the first game. That's tough. That's a tough matchup. So, and then like I said, the injuries. I think the injuries are what's probably keeping a lot of people from saying Duke can win the national championship, because you lose 2 starters. I mean, I don't care how good of a team you are. You lose 2 starters. That's losing 2 starters. And I know Caleb has gone through a lot of ups and downs. But I always give him credit because he fought through it. He could have easily transferred, go somewhere else, and not have the scrutiny that he has to deal with Duke. But he came in this season ready to go, knowing that he might not even be the starter. They got a highly touted, freshman point guard coming in. Who happens? His brother is, the number 1 player in the country, and he could just have been like, what, I'm not going to deal with this no more. And he came in and he played, he had some moments, ups and downs, but for the most part was played really good down the stretch. And losing him, and he's probably not coming back. So that he's probably gone. Now, Pat, I think losing Pat is massive, because what he can do in the interior as far as being a rim protector. But it's just the little things he does. His passing he's such a good passer, especially in the low post, and I think that's the difference between this year's team and last year's team with Malawach. Malawach didn't have that capability. He was a tremendous shot blocker and can change the game as far as that with his rim protection, but he did not have the skills offensively that Pat has. So that's going to be massive. Now they're saying maybe if maybe past the first weekend, if Duke does that, he'll come back if there's a Sweet 16. But who knows? We still don't even know clearly like how significant the injury is. They kind of been vague with that, which I understand, but we'll see. But their path is tough. It's like I said, a potential St. John's matchup. So Kansas and you guys, for a number 1 seed, it is tough. So I definitely get why you have that. But I mean, Michigan has like you said, I think Michigan should coast. Like I said, they're not playing potentially a Texas Tech team that has, JT Toppin. He's obviously not there, and even Christian Anderson is banged up. We don't even know if that's if they get past their matchup. So yeah, Michigan has all the number 1 seeds have better matchups than Duke. Duke they definitely got a tough draw, but like we mentioned before the show. They're Duke's. If there's a school that's battle tested, it's Duke. I mean, we talk about their non-conference schedule. They always have they always play against the top 5 teams in non-conference. So if any team's prepared for that, it's my Blue Devils. So we'll see how that goes. But I want to ask you another thing. What is which out of those 4 number 1 seeds, which coach is under the most pressure?
That's tough. Let me say real quick too, my bad. I accidentally messed up for that Midwest region too. Actually, Iowa State could actually present some threats to Michigan too. I don't know if they will. I think they're lacking size-wise, but I do think that would be a tough matchup if Michigan has to run into the Cyclones, because they can score with anybody and they can defend anybody too. But as far as the coaches with the most pressure as the one seeds, man, I
It's
mean,
either Tommy or Shire, right? It's got to be because
yeah,
like you see, Todd Golden just won that championship.
yeah,
He's good for a little bit. He's good for a
Mhm.
little bit.
Dusty.
And Dusty is, he's only what, year 2 or 3 at Michigan.
Yeah. I think to me it's got to be Tommy, just because
yeah, it has to be.
I think Shire's established himself as a coach that's going to make sure that Duke is a title contender damn near every year. And I don't think you could say the same for Tommy Lloyd. Like, they've had really good teams. They've had teams that probably should have went to the Elite Eight or Final Four that didn't. And this team is clearly his best team. It's crazy because I really didn't think that Arizona or Tommy Lloyd would have a better team at Arizona than the team he had with Benedict Mathurin, Dalen Terry, Azuolas Tubelis, Pele Larson. Like, that team was stacked. Umar Ballo.
Team, right?
Yeah, I want to say it was 21-22, and they fell short, I believe, in the 3-16. Yeah, so like I thought that team was good enough to win a national championship, but this team is even better. So I think if you're Tommy Lloyd, like, also like the main thing is when you have a senior point guard like Jaden Bradley, you got to capitalize on that because there's not many times where you have a senior-led point guard that can take you to the promised land like that. On top of,
he's played a lot of games. He's big national champion, Final Four type of games. Like, he has a crazy experience.
Yeah, you got to remember, Jaden Bradley's been around for so long. He was on the Alabama team that had Brandon Miller. He was on that team, and they fell short. That was a team that fell short. That was a team that probably should have went to the Final Four.
They were number 1 seed,
Yeah, lost to San Diego State, I believe, in the Sweet 16, Elite Eight. So, yeah, it happens like that sometimes. But, yeah, I got to go Arizona just because that talent, man, you might not ever get another freshman class as good as this one between Karchenkov, Braden Burries, and Dwayne Aristotle, right? Like, Cole Pete. I didn't mention Cole Pete, who was the creme de la creme out this class. So, like, you got to cash in on this team. And I'm not even saying that you have to win it, but just, like, you got to get to the Final Four, right? Like, get to the Final Four. Arizona hasn't been to the Final Four in a long time. I think it's been since, like, the early 2000s. Sean Miller never went.
Was it 2001 when the Natty?
Yeah, or I think they got there. I don't think they won it that year, though. The last time they won, I believe
they lost to Duke in the national championship.
Exactly. The last time they won it was 97 with Lou Olson and Bibby and them, Miles Simon, excuse me. And Jason Terry and them. So I think, yeah, Tommy Lloyd got to win this thing. Or not, excuse me. Tommy Lloyd has to get to the Final Four. Like, at least cash in on this team, put them on the biggest stage, and then let the cards fall where they may at that point. But, like, again, when you just have a whole bunch of seniors, dudes that have been in the program, you got the guard play, the perimeter play, the front court play. They rebound, they defend. They've won in a variety of different ways. They clean swept the Big 12. They won the regular season. They won the conference title, tournament title. You got to cash in with this team. So if it's anything shorter than the Final Four, I'm not saying it's going to be pressure on Tommy Lloyd, but it's going to be a lot of skepticism on if Tommy Lloyd could actually get there and reach the pinnacle of the sport.
Yeah, because how long he's been there? 4 or 5 years. And he's been a number 1 seed, 2 seed, and the furthest he's been is to the Sweet 16. Which, like you mentioned, some really, really talented teams. So, like I said, his job's not going to be on the line or anything, but he's going to feel it if he doesn't get to, like I said, an Elite Eight or something. Because, like I said, this team is really good. And this is a team that, when I did preseason predictions, I was like, I could see them winning the national championship. Like, they were one of those teams I was like, they're a sleeper, national championship contender. And they definitely showed it. They have – they're balanced, man. They're good on offense. They're good on defense. They got a good balance of vets and freshmen. Like, they have everything you need to win a national championship. And it's just a matter, we know how this tournament is. It's sometimes, and listen, they've lost 2 in a row this year. So it happens, but they have what it takes to win the national championship. But they also have, things slip up, and we've seen it before, with Tommy Lloyd teams so far at Arizona. So we'll see. But do you think? Let's go to Duke. Do you think, even despite the injuries, because I don't want to make excuse. I know those are significant injuries that we have, but this team is still a team that, with the potential player of the year in Boozer, should still, at worst, be in the Final Four, just based on talent. And I know it's going to be a tough road. Even if we're healthy, it's still going to be a tough road because they got a tough draw. But will you think there would be any pressure? Would people feel some way if Shire is short of a Sweet 16 appearance? If that's the furthest they get. I like asking non-Duke because I can say as biased I am, that's still going to be in my blood. That's my team, so I like to ask other people, who aren't fans of the team, like about that. Like, do you think there will be pressure for John if they fall short?
It's tough because you're at Duke, right? You're at arguably the biggest brand in college basketball. Obviously Carolina's in there, UConn, Kansas, whatever, Kentucky, but like the outside noise is always going to be outside noise. And I think Shire's done a great job of proving himself that he's more than worthy of this job. Like, he's done an amazing job. Like, the fact that you guys went from last year's team, and let's be honest, like, if Shire never wins a national championship, I don't think this is going to be the case. But if Shire never wins a national championship in his tenure at Duke, I think he's going to have nightmares about last year's team not winning it, because I thought that last year's team was the best team in the country, right?
They should have won the national. The last few minutes in that game versus Houston, that's it's inexcusable. Like, they should have, and I think that people have kind of forgotten about it a little bit, but it will be brought up if they fall short, because that's what happens.
Yes. And that's what I was alluding to, right? Because this year's team is still elite, but I don't think this year's team is as nice as last year's team. Now, this year's team might have a little bit more chemistry and camaraderie. I know people say that they're elite defensively, but I just don't think like that last year's Duke team to me was one of the most dominant defensive teams I've ever seen 1 through 5, like, just being honest. And regardless of that fact, the fact that he was able to reload in the fashion that he has with this team coming off of last year's team says a lot about who John Shire is as a coach, the resources that Duke has at their hands, and just everything about y'all quote unquote culture, right? And so I do think it'll be a little noise if he doesn't get past the Sweet 16, but it's gonna be noise regardless. So that's what I'm trying to get to. Like, if the moment Duke loses, America's gonna celebrate. Like, that's just what it is, because nobody likes Duke. Exactly. And I understand it, but I mean, to me, I definitely think you guys should get out the first weekend. Sweet 16, like I said, for St. John's gonna be tricky, bro. I'm gonna be real with you, like,
especially if there's no Pat. If there's no, I think everything is predicated on Pat. Like, if Pat's there and he looks, even if he's 75, 80%, then I think the expectation is, all right, we got to win the championship. But if he's not there, like I said, if they lose in the Sweet 16 simply because there's no Pat and, was Zuby Ejiofor is just, doing his thing, if it's St. John's, then, you got to be like, hey, man, we didn't have, like I said, I don't want to make excuses, but that would be the thing. But I'm just curious to see how people will look at Shire, because he's the golden boy. Right, sure. Everybody loves John Shire, and he doesn't have the same. He doesn't bring that energy that people hate when, like, Coach K had. No, Coach K, people hate, and I don't feel like people hate Duke the way they used to hate Duke. And maybe I don't know if you agree, but I don't feel that hatred like when it was Coach K. And maybe it's just because the way basketball is completely different now. But I just don't feel the hate. I feel like John Shire is like, he's not yelling at people, he's not doing, he's more of a likable coach. But that only happens if you win. And so people will bring up last year and what happened, and I'm just curious to see how they'll look, how people will look at Duke if they don't get it done. And we'll see what happens. But I want to go through one more thing with these 4 C's, and we'll go through each one. And I'm going to ask you this: Duke wins the national championship because, and then Duke doesn't win the national championship because. You give me those two. Answer those 2 questions.
Duke wins the national championship because Isaiah Evans goes on a major heater and doesn't look back, and that's just how I felt all season. I feel like he's done a great job. Like, early in the year, I feel like he was settling way too much from beyond the perimeter. And I kind of get it, because, I mean, damn near the moment he crossed half court, you got to guard Isaiah Evans. You got to make sure you find him.
He's shooting.
But I think, he obviously has a more skinnier frame, so, like, he likes to settle a little bit. But when he's actually attacking and putting pressure on defenses and getting to the rim, I think it expands everything offensively for Duke. And granted, Shire already runs a lot of amazing sets, right? Whether the ball's in Malik Brown's hands, whether it's in Boozer's hands, whether it's in Little Boozer's hands, it don't matter. But, like, when Isaiah Evans is aggressive, I think Duke's offense goes from elite to great. Like, just that simply put, because you guys don't really have another wing kind of like that. I know you kind of been waiting on Dame Sarr, but, like, That's just not really his game, right?
And they just want sorry. Hey, at this point, it's like, yo, just lock up.
Exactly. So
whoever the best player is on the other team, lock them up. And I think that's what they've just gone. Like the offense is not there. He could be a slasher, but it's like, yo, just lock up, dog. Just do that.
Yeah.
You do that really good, and just worry about that.
Mm-hmm. So I think that would be the reason that y'all do win, and then Duke doesn't win based off the East region just being tough as I don't know what. Like based off a St. John's coming there hungry, and then or even if y'all win that game, y'all probably gonna have to see us or UConn, right? So I think like, I mean. I just think from a physicality standpoint, it's just gonna be one of those teams that kind of surprise. I'd probably bet on St. John's out of all three of us to be honest to do it, just because they have the bodies, they like to press. Like I think that's the best thing. Like I was watching St. John's in that UConn championship game of the Big East,
physical,
and St. John's was pressing them. They were up 10, but they were pressing UConn like they were down 8 with a minute 30 left in the game.
Yeah,
I think if you put that consistent pressure on a team, especially like Duke that's kind of lacking a ball handler outside of Boozer right now, Lil Boozer, it's going to be tough. So I just think it's just going to be because of that. They just run into a team that just like slightly more tougher. They might not even be better necessarily.
Exactly. I get it.
Point. Yeah, like it's just they're going to turn into a street fight.
What about Michigan?
Michigan wins it because Marez Johnson Jr. I don't want to say Marez. Let me stay away from Marez. I do love Marez Johnson Jr. though. But Michigan wins it because Roddy Gale and Amari Burnett put the team on their back from the perimeter and knock down shots that are off script throughout the course of their offense. And then Michigan doesn't win it because due to the injury with LJ Kaysen, it puts a lot more pressure and responsibility on the plate of Elliot Cadeau to perform at a high level as a floor general. And so I think that's going to be the biggest issue with them because obviously you've seen throughout the course of the Big Ten tournament, they look vulnerable. I'll just be honest, like Wisconsin had a chance to beat them in the semifinal game. Granted, Wisconsin won the better backcourts in the country with Nick Boyd and John Blackwell, but Purdue beat them, right? Purdue beat them in that championship game. So I think that'd be the reason they don't is just that injury to LJ Kaysen. And really, again, I can see Iowa State beat them. Like if they match up with Iowa State, one of the last point guards that you want to see when your point guard isn't great. Like Elliot Cadeau is very good. I wouldn't necessarily say he's elite, but I do think he's very good. But you don't want to see Tamin Lipsey, and you don't want to see Josh Jefferson and Milan Momcilovic when they're on fire too. So like, I'm gonna just say, yeah, I just think if they win, it'll be because Namari Burnett, Roddy Gale, the X Factor glue guy type guys step up and perform outside of their normal capacity. And if they don't win, it's gonna be because they run into a team like Iowa State that just has a great matchup for them.
Arizona?
Man, Arizona wins because Jaden Bradley is one of the best leaders in college basketball. And when you have a guy like that, you're going to be competitive in any given game versus any given team. And they don't win if that front court just doesn't win the rebounding battle, right? And that's going to be a rarity. But I just think, again, when you have a front court like that, that's that deep between Krevis, Awaka, Cole Pete, amongst others, 9 times out of 10, you're going to win the glass on a night-to-night basis. But it is some teams out there that could match up with them. Now, again, I don't think they will, but Arkansas can beat them. Like, if I'm just being honest, like Darius Acuff can get in there and Billy Richmond, like they have matchups for these dudes. Now, again, Malik Ewan, Trayvon Brazile, they're going to have to show up. They're going to have to put their big boy pants on that game. But, I mean, I could easily see Arkansas just get them. So I'd say they do win, based off that perimeter core. And if they don't win, it'll be based off their bigs just not showing up on that game at night.
And what about the defending champions, the Gators?
I'm saying both. It's gonna be the same reason. If they do win, it'll be because Xavier and Lee, Clavzar, and Boogie Flan show up. And if they don't win, it's because those 3 guys don't show up. Like their whole thing is predicated off their guard play, and their guard play has been better as of late. I think we kind of hated on them a little bit early in the season just because they're coming off a national championship and the bar is super high. But they've been solid for the most
part. Their guard play was probably the reason why they won the national championship last year.
Exactly. With Walter Clayton, Elijah Martin, and the rest of the guys, Denzel Aberdeen. So, like, I think it's kind of the same thing. Like, if their guards show up, they can beat anybody. If they don't show up, they can lose anybody. Like, that's just what it is. You've seen them lost in the SEC semifinal game to Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt's guards were just better than their guards. Between Duke Miles and Tyler Tanner, they were just better. So, I think that's what it is for Florida. Their guards just have to be on point for the most part. It's a guards game this time of the year.
Yeah. So we'll see. There's these very good number one chances that no number 1 seed goes to the Final Four?
10%. Like, honestly, like last year, I know it was chalk. All four number one seeds went. I don't think that'll be the case this year, but I definitely think Arizona will be there. I'm pretty confident about Florida being there. The other two, I'm not as confident as I mentioned with the injuries, but like I obviously wouldn't be surprised if Duke is there. I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan is there. Like I think it's a greater chance that all four do make it to the Final Four than vice versa. So yeah, I'm saying 10%.
Gotcha. All right. Before we get into some of the games and some of the matchups you like, let's talk about the Michigan State Spartans, your Sparties. How are we feeling about Sparty coming into this year? Another successful season by Mr. Izzo, another 20-win season. How are we feeling about this team this year? Or what do you think there could be a run? Do you think there could be a possible Final Four run? Like, what are your thoughts? How have you felt about this team? What are some things you take away from the losses that you're concerned about, with their losses? And what do you feel good about them, when they're winning, when things are clicking? What are you feeling good about Sparty? So just talk to me about them.
It was weird, right? Based off last year, you lost so much in the backcourt, right? You lost Jace Richardson to the NBA draft. You lost Jaden Akins to graduation. He's killing the G League right now. And then you surprisingly lost Trey Holloman, who went to NC State. But you brought back Jeremy Fears, you brought back Kurtan, you brought back Jackson Coley, you brought back Cohen Carr, you brought back Carson Cooper. So I already knew off the rip that because we have four players that played meaningful minutes last season, that those same four players will be overly prepared to contribute this year. And with Jeremy Fears, you're seeing, shout out to him, he made second-team All-American today. He's leading the country in assists. I know it's a lot of talk about the the dangerous plays, and I'll be the first to say.
You think he went to Duke with all the picking and stuff, bro?
Hey, don't remind me. But look, I'm gonna say I don't condone none of that. I just want y'all to know that. But the issue, the thing that bothers me is that people let that overlook what he's doing this year. Like, he's one of the best point guards in the country. Like, again, he leads the country in assists. He's averaging almost 10 assists per game. And he's scoring way easier and more effortlessly now. So I just think when you have a point guard like that, he can keep you in any games. And I think that's why I'm supremely confident going into the tournament, because we played against Duke. We played against Michigan twice. Granted, we lost to Michigan twice. They swept us, and we lost to Duke, right? But we played against UConn as a scrimmage early in the year, right? So I'm saying that to say we've seen pretty much every top team in the country outside of Florida and Arizona. Other than that, I feel like we match up well with anybody. I think, again, I'll keep reiterating this point. If you want to get out of this East region, you got to be physically and mentally tough. And that's what Izzo teams have been known for. And I think that's why whoever wins this region might end up winning the national championship, if I'm being real. And so I think, we match up well with you guys. I think we match up well with St. John's. I think we match up well with UConn. And so it's all going to boil down to, can we hit enough shots? That's what it really boils down to. And I think my saving grace with that being is that I'd rather be a team that is excellent at all the little things and struggles to shoot than be a team that doesn't do any of the little things and can shoot. Meaning, like, you look at Louisville, for instance, right?
Oh, yeah. They're a perfect example of that.
Exactly. Louisville, they're not a good rebounding team. They're not a good defensive team.
Real size, yeah.
No real size, but they can knock down shots. And coincidentally, they're in this East region too. A lot of people have them getting upset versus USF, but we'll see. But I feel like we have capable shooters. They just haven't been consistent. Like, Kurtan can knock down shots. Trey Ford can knock down shots. Jackson Kohler can knock down shots. Jeremy Fears has been knocking down shots this year. It's about, can they do it? It's not even about can they do it at a high level. Can they just hit the timely shots? If we can hit timely shots, we can beat anybody. Like, I firmly believe that. I just think, Jackson Kohler's been an X factor. And then my only real concern is our defense, especially guarding guards, has been kind of suspect, like, as of lately. Like, for the most part, we've been an elite defense this entire season. Like, I think we were number 8 at one point. I don't know if that's still the case right now, but, like, when we're guarding, we're one of the best teams in the country, undeniably. But, like, recently, like, we lost to UCLA on Saturday or Friday, and Donovan Dent, Trent Berry, Sky Clark, they were just getting to wherever they wanted to, and we couldn't do anything about it. So I do think the fact that we lost early in the Big Ten tournament, it gave Izzo more practice time and more time to instill, like, hey, like, if we want to go on a deep run, these are the things we have to do right. And so I think based off us getting that amount of time between the Big Ten tournament and then compared to playing on Thursday against North Dakota State, I like where we're at, bro. I'll be honest with you. I really feel like, again, out that East region, I think any four of us between you guys, St. John's, us, and UConn can win that region. I think those are the four main culprits.
It's crazy you brought up that, like, losing early and that gives you more time, for certain teams. Like, I think Coach Cowell has brought this up that he's like, I don't care for the tournaments and stuff because we're trying to prepare for the big tournament. And like for you guys, maybe that's a good thing. You get more time to get in this, and obviously you always want to win, right? That's always the goal. Like for Duke, I was like, it doesn't matter if we win it or not, but like it's cool. It's good for the morale and stuff. But we need to get guys as healthy as humanly possible, especially that we're down 2 guys. So like we win the ACC championship, that's cool. But if guys keep getting hurt, what good is that? So like maybe for you guys, you could say more time to obviously rest your guys, but just more time in the film room. Because I think that's just as important as the film understanding. Because we know, like you mentioned, shooting that, how many times have we seen teams live or die by the shoot, right? We've seen upsets because teams are just shooting the lights out the ball, and we've seen teams lose because they can't shoot. They can't shoot the ball, and we know, sometimes when we're dealing with young kids, when it's down 10 and you're a higher seed and like, oh, things get a little tight, you need to be able to, all right, let's continue doing the little things so we can still, play our game, because if you're just relying on the 3, like I mentioned, like Louisville and stuff, or even like Miami, Ohio, like they're going to be reliant on the outside shot. If that doesn't go, they won't be in the tournament much longer. But so how far do you think Michigan can go? Take off the hat, take off the Sparty hat.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel? Like, what is your gut telling you? Like, we can make a run? Because like I said, it's a tough region. We mentioned it's Duke in there, and it's always Duke. It feels like Michigan State and Duke are in the same region.
Time.
And I think they said it right, 6 of the last 8 years, something like that.
Yeah.
I go back to the Zion when y'all beat us. I don't want to go back to that. I remember that day verbatim. Well, that was a terrible day. But it's a tough region. St. John's, they're, even Ohio State or TCU, like that does know. That's why like Duke has a. That's a tough second round game for us, either TCU or Ohio, especially Ohio State, because they got guys who can score, scoring them boys. But how do you feel? Do you think we can get a run?
Honestly, I really do, bro. Like I can realistically, I could see us losing in the Sweet 16, and I can see us get to the Final Four / national championship game. Like honestly, that's how crazy it is, and I feel like that's kind of like where the game is right now. Like I know, like some people look at like Duke, Florida, Michigan, Arizona is like untouchable, but those teams can be beat. We've seen that, right? Like we've seen it. Like Virginia almost beat you guys. Florida got beat in the SEC tournament. Like I'm not saying they're
almost lost to Florida State.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So like, as great as the 1 seeds are, I still think they're really good, but I don't think they're as strong as the 1 seeds from a season ago, right?
Yeah.
And granted, most of the 1 seeds from last year were senior-led teams, had extra COVID years, whatever. They were older teams, but to me, like honestly. Again, I feel like, we're going to play North Dakota State. I think we beat them. And then we're going to play the winner of Louisville and South Florida. I'm pretty confident about either matchup on that end because we're just going to have too much size for either one of those teams, even though both those teams can shoot now. And then in a potential Sweet 16 game, it's probably going to be UConn, maybe UCLA, but more than likely UConn. I like us versus UConn, bro. Like UConn, they are good. Don't get it twisted. They have a lot of talent. Like Silas Demery has been a revelation for them out there transfer portal. Braylon Mullins is a first-round NBA pick, no doubt about it in my mind. Terrence Reed is a monster. But you seen like St. John's punked them. Like I'll just be honest, St. John's. Yeah. And granted, like UConn smacked them in stores. Yeah. Like I always like going off what happened more recently, and I think we could beat UConn. Excuse me, and then Elite Eight, which coincidentally you brought it up. That Sweet 16 for our region, the Sweet 16 Elite Eight games are going to be played in Washington, D.C. And guess where we beat you guys at when y'all had Zion and we had Cassius Winston was in Washington, D.C. So I could see us either running into y'all or St. John's in the Elite Eight, and I could see us winning that game and going to a Final Four. I'll be honest. Like, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. The biggest concern for me, just getting down to it, is that we don't really have another on-ball creator outside of Jeremy Fears. That's the biggest thing. Like, it's a reason. That's why I was kind of happy that we lost early. Again, I never want to lose. I do think him getting that extra few days of rest is major. And so I do think, like, bro, I could see us honestly getting to the Final Four. I could see us getting to the Final Four and playing a Houston or Florida and even beating them. Like, as crazy as it may sound, but I like no bias. I feel like this is the type of situation that Izzo loves to be in. And he said himself, like, he literally said we could lose in the first round or we can go to the national championship game. And I feel the same exact way. So I can see it's going on a run, bro. It's no doubt about it in my mind. I think when you have that type of point guard, you have the front court, it all boils down to what you can get from the perimeter between a Kurtang, a Cohen Carr, and the rest of the crew. But with my point guard, with my big man, I like us in a lot of battles, bro. I'll be honest with you.
So how many teams you think have the biggest range? And you just mentioned that Izzo said we can lose in the first round, get to the Final Four national championship. How many teams have that type of range where you can see them losing in the first round, or you'd be like, oh man, they could get to the national championship, Final Four? Like, how many teams do you see in this bracket that have that type of range?
In the East specifically, or as a whole?
Overall.
Right. So in the East, I definitely think it's the main two we already said: Duke, St. John's, UConn, us. And then if I had to go and guess another one, I'd say the West with Wisconsin. Like Wisconsin, they play High Point in the first round. You know, shout out to Flynn Clayman. He's from out here. He's out there doing great things at North Carolina, getting them to the tournament his first year. They could lose to them. I don't think they will, but like, again, Wisconsin could win that game, and they'd probably have to play against Arkansas the next round. I could see them winning that game. And then the Sweet 16, they see Arizona. I can see them winning that game too. Like, Wisconsin, one of those teams where, because you don't know what version of them you're going to get, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, they can play anybody. They seem like they're the only team that beat Michigan in the regular season of the Big Ten this year. And they almost beat Michigan in the Big Ten tournament semifinal. So, like, they match up well with a lot of teams, with Nick Boyd, with John Blackwell, Austin Rapp, Braden Carrington. They have a lot of talent on that team. So I go them, and then I'm going to go Gonzaga, too, in that West, just because, look, I have them winning that first round. They play Kennesaw State, you know, shout out to the Owls. But right after that, they play a wobbling BYU team right now. But
BYU is –
yeah, they're struggling right now. Shout out to Richie Saunders. Hopefully he gets healthy. But I say that to say, I wouldn't be surprised if AJ Dymanson's is able to put on his cape and go off for 40 and beat Gonzaga, too. Like, that would not shock me whatsoever. So I think I put the Zags in there. And then the last team, or a couple teams I will say out that Midwest region, is Tennessee and Virginia. Like, Tennessee's another team where I can honestly see Tennessee losing in the first round. I'll be honest with you guys.
I wrote about that for Center Hub because I had to cover Tennessee. I was like, Tennessee is one of those teams. They're like, to me, they're the definition of one of those teams. You can see them getting bounced in the first round, or, hey, they're in the national championship or in the Final Four, because early in the season, they look like that. I think they beat Bama early in the season, and it was like, okay. And then they went on a little slide, and then they ups and downs, and then the Nate Ament injury. He looked good in his first game back, but in the second game, he didn't look good. So, like, which is how healthy is he? But yeah, they have that range. They have a crazy range where they can do first round, or they can get to the national championship.
Yeah, so and that's why I feel like Rick Barnes, defensively, Rick Barnes teams are capable of winning national championships. It's the other end of the floor. Like, offensively, I just think they're too one-dimensional, right? But, like, Jacoby Gillespie is a guard.
And late in games, they've had – because I think they had like 6 games or 6 to 7 games where they lost. It was just a 2-possession game, or 2-possession games. Like, they lost a lot of close games. So they realistically – I think they're a 6th seed. If those games go their way, or one or two just get away, they're maybe on the 2 line or 3 line.
Exactly.
It's just the difference. It's crazy how just a few bounces of the ball, the difference between being a 6 seed and being a 2 or 3 seed for Tennessee.
And so that's why I feel like that about Tennessee, because Jacoby Gillespie is a stud. Like, Jacoby Gillespie can win you games by himself, and he's shown that. He's like last year at Maryland, year before that at Belmont. Like, he's the truth, but he needs some help offensively. And I don't know if it's going to be Nate Ament, Bishop Boswell, JP Estrella, Felix Akpara.
No, Bishop. The Bishop is just – he's Bishop, you know.
Exactly.
Like, it's going to come down to Nate and Jacoby, because they really don't have it. They're going to be relying on their size and just out rebounding and getting second chance points. They're a good offensive rebounding team. That's going to be their key, is second chance points, and hoping that Jacoby gets it done. You know, I don't know what Nate we're going to get. Nate has been, up and down, with his play too. Like, there's moments he was playing hot. Once they get the SEC play, he started playing good, then but they're going to need the size and Jacoby to do his thing, or else it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and then the last 2 teams I have for you is in that Midwest region, is Alabama. Well, of course, I feel like Alabama this every year, right? Like, NATO's got them to
every year. It's always Alabama.
So like NATO's gotten to a Final Four a few years ago. It was their first in program history, but they're literally one of them teams where they can score with anybody, but they can't defend and they can't rebound. No. But like they put up 90 points per game. So like if you're gonna beat them, you're either gonna have to stop them or you're gonna have to go blow for blow with them on the offensive side of the floor, or you're just gonna have to out rebound and dominate in the paint. So Alabama's one of those teams, even with Aiden Holloway out, that's gonna be tough. But you're gonna still have Latrell Ricel, Jalil Bethea, Houston Millett. I think Amari Allen is a dog, so hopefully he gets more touches. So we'll see with them. And then the last one's Virginia. I mean, we kind of already touched on them, but like Testa Ritter, shout out to my guy Malik Thomas, been hooping for them. You know, Dallin Hall, they play at a whole bunch of different paces. They can get stops. They hit 3-pointers. So like they compete. So I think it's a few teams like that, man. I just think that's the nature of the beast right now. And that's where the college game is at with NIL, with the portal. I just think that the playing field is just more even and leveled out than it's ever been before.
No, yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. And that's one of the benefits of the new era of hoop is that, you know, we might not get the Cinderella stories that people love. You know, we're not going to get the George Masons, you know, of the world. We're not going to get those, you know, but there is a little bit more balance and there's a little bit more parity. And we're going to see more, you know, 6 seeds, 5 seeds that have a chance to win the national championship. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see, you know, a Virginia 3 seed win the national championship. Like, there's teams like that, you know. But let's get to some of these matchups. Give me a matchup that you're looking forward to in each region. Give me one or two games from each region that you're really looking forward to. These first games.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The main one I'm looking at, and this is low key my Cinderella pick too. So if I combine them, my bad. But in that Midwest region, Kentucky is on upset alert. Like, I hope people know they play Santa Clara, and I'll tell you guys right now, the Broncos, Herb Sendek has done an amazing job with this team this year. And obviously he's had Jalen Williams there. He's had a few different guys. You know, Brandon Podziemski went there. Mm-hmm. But this team, they can shoot it, they can rebound, and they can guard. And they might not have the same size, but I think that's the good thing about matching up with Kentucky is that outside of Malachi Moreno, you're not really worried about anybody in the front court, right, for Kentucky. Yeah. So I think, me personally, that's going to be a game I'm super looking forward to because if Kentucky gets beat, it's going to be a lot of drama out there in the Bluegrass State with that one. And then I say BYU versus the winner of tonight. I think it's tonight's matchup between NC State and Texas. It could be tonight or tomorrow, forgive me, but I think NC State could beat them. I think Texas Tech could beat BYU too. But I just think it's going to be tough just because, again, when you lose Richie Saunders, right?
Yeah, that's big.
Bucket, who could score, who's a leader, he was an emotional leader, all of that. It puts more on the plate of AJ Dybensa to perform and on Rob Wright's shoulders. And the rest of those guys, Kaba Keita's kind of been inconsistent. So, like, I could legit see NC State or Texas winning that game versus BYU, and I wouldn't be surprised. And Texas is an interesting squad. I honestly didn't think Texas deserved to be in the tournament, but I'm glad they are because I do like Dalen Swain.
Swain's a good
for a minute, and I love Tremont Mark too, so I'm glad he got a chance in his final year to keep going.
Tremont Mark needs to go on Indeed, bro. It's been more than years, man. It's time to buy on Indeed, dog. It's it.
So I feel like that one, I think that's going to be a hell of a game. And then I'll be honest, I think UCLA versus UCF is going to be good. I mean, look, UCLA versus UCF should be a good game. My bad. UConn plays Furman. So UCLA versus UCF, just because Johnny Dawkins' team, they've been up and down in the Big 12. Granted, the Big 12 was a gauntlet this year, but like they have pieces. Jordan Burks is very good. Like they have a couple dudes in there that could give UCLA problems. And obviously with UCLA, you got Donovan Dent, you got Tyler Bilodeau, you got Eric Daly Jr. So I definitely think that's going to be a game. And then my last one, I'll say last two, are actually both in the same region. The winner of these games will play each other in that South region, and that's North Carolina without Caleb Wilson versus VCU, right? VCU, shout out to Phil Martelli Jr. They got Nick Lewis. They got a few different too. Jadrian Tracy's very good on that team. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. I think the VCU can sting North Carolina. Obviously, it's not saying much without Caleb Wilson, but we'll see. And then, again, the game right after that is going to be, or excuse me, the game below that, same bracket, but a little bit further down, is St. Mary's versus Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. That, to me, is going to be a banger of a game because you're going to get St. Mary's, who has a ton of talent, with A&M and Bucky McMillan. They call it Bucky Ball, where they get up and down. And they got a whole bunch of players on that team, too. They were kind of an under-the-radar team in the SEC. So those are a few matchups I'm definitely looking forward to.
There's one, like, potential Cinderella that people are talking about. And it's a matchup that is very interesting, and you mentioned before is Louisville and USF. Everyone is kind of riding with USF, right? And they're technically the underdogs. They're an 11 seed. They had a tremendous season too. Like I said, they struggled in the beginning of the season defensively, but they picked it up, and then obviously they took care of the American. I think only had one loss in the American, and then won the outright American. And Louisville had a good start, and then obviously they dealt with some injuries. Mikael Brown, we don't know, so obviously that's a big thing. Is his health, if he's even going to play. I don't think he's going to play. But everyone's on USF. And I always feel like when you're filling out brackets and stuff, when everyone's pointing at the seed, the higher seed to beat a lower seed, I tend to like, and I'm with you. That was my Cinderella. When we did the Center Hub stuff, that's my Cinderella. And technically they're 11 seed, so they fit the Cinderella criteria. Mm-hmm. But then I'm like, am I too confident in this? Like, am I too confident USF? And listen, on paper, USF, they have the size, they have everything defensively. They have enough. They have score with Joseph Pinion and Wasinas. They have everything you need to pull off, and make a little bit of run. But, are we kind of? Am I too much with thinking that USF can make a run? Am I being a little too? I think they can make. See, they'll have Mitch. They'll have you guys in the next round. Like, am I crazy for thinking that they can make a run?
Nah.
And I know they didn't play anyone, and I think that's the biggest thing is they haven't played. They have one quad one game, and I think that was against Bama, and they lost, and they gave up. But that's Bama. Bama scores 100 points on everyone, So like, but they had the competition. Obviously, is not they haven't played anyone. But I feel like Brian Hodgson, who's obviously a hot commodity, going to be this year, done a good job there. I don't know. I think they can make room, but am I being too confident in this? In them?
Nah. I mean, I think it's valid, right? Because like this is what I asked, and I was actually on a Louisville space the other day. Shout out to the Power 10 crew. And I asked him, I was like, what would you guys say is Pat Kelsey's identity? Because I think the issue with Louisville, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, is that they're so reliant on making 3-point shots, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I'm saying when the shots aren't falling, you should always have something to fall back on, right? Like
I think over 60% of their shots, and I could be wrong, but I think I've researched this, over 60% of their shots are 3-point shots.
And that's my exact issue. Again, it's not that they shoot them. It's not the quality or the quantity. It's nothing about that. It's more so, again, when shots aren't falling, what can you fall back on? And that's my same issue with Nate Oates, right? Like when you look at you guys, right? Shire, you could say his identity is defense. You could say his identity is whatever, right? But like he runs great things offensively. But if shots aren't falling, you guys can still win the glass. You guys can still lock up defensively. It's other things that you can do. And when I look at Louisville, that's my issue. When I look at them, outside of Mikael Brown being great and then McNeely and Combo hitting shots, it's nowhere else I'm looking on the floor like, okay, Louisville has an advantage here, here, and here. Yeah, it's like, nah, they're just hitting threes and it works. But sometimes you like it's the same thing with Mark Pope, coincidentally, right? Like when Kentucky isn't hitting threes, they're vulnerable as I don't know what. And even when they are hitting threes, they're still vulnerable, right? So like I feel like that's the issue is that with South Florida, they could beat you in a variety of different ways. And they like to get up and down. They like to shoot threes. Obviously, Brian Hodgson is part of that Nate Oates coaching tree. So he likes to let his players, be loose and have fun on offense. But I do think they can get stops. They can rebound. They play hard. They're a physical team. And so I think that's why everybody's picking them as the popular upset pick because Louisville, look, they had a lot of hype kind of coming into the season, but like in the front court, they just don't have it. Like Frew is just not really that. He's not what they expected him. And then like outside of that, I don't think they have anywhere in the post outside. Like I feel like they should post up Javon Hadley more and get him close to the rim. But that's neither here nor there. But I just don't think Louisville has, again, multiple ways to beat you, and that's the main issue. So to me, it is the trendy upset pick, and me personally, I really don't like going with the trendy upset pick. I think last year everybody picked High Point to beat Purdue, maybe, or I think that could have been 2 years ago. But me personally, I think my pick is probably Santa Clara over Kentucky. But I can still see, like I do have South Florida winning the game. Don't get it twisted, but it's a trendy pick, which is fine. Like that's what it is. Everybody got a bracket, so be it. But I mean, USF could for sure go on, and they could beat us. Like I said, anybody can get hot and go on a run. Like that's what it is. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat us. I think they will? No, but I wouldn't be surprised at all either. So USF is tough, bro. Brian Hodgson's done an amazing job with the Bulls down there in Tampa.
If I had to ask you the chances, and I asked you before, were the chances of a one seed going to the Final Four? What are the chances that we see an 11 seed or up, let's say the Cinderella criteria, making the Final Four? And if you do think, what team could be that?
Whew, man. To the Final Four?
You don't have to believe, but if you think if there is a team that you think could make that run and make a Final Four run, who do you think it could be? If you think you don't, and like I said, it doesn't mean you think that it's going to happen. Yeah. But if there was a chance, who could pull that off?
Honestly, it's actually a team in your conference, and that's the SMU Mustangs.
I guess so.
I actually do think they win their first 4 game, where they will play Miami, Ohio. I think they get them out the paint. But the reason being is that
they're too physical for Miami, Ohio. Yeah. That's the thing. Miami, Ohio is like you mentioned Louisville. They're very similar. Like they have to play on point. They have a bunch of shooters, but they have no size. And SMU can guard and lock up. So that's gonna be a tough matchup for Miami, Ohio.
So I think the main thing is that, like, when you look at SMU, right, the Mustangs have a squad, and I think Boopie Miller is one of those guards that can take over and win you games by himself. Yeah, and I think the key thing with that too is that they're going to get BJ Edwards back, who's been kind of up and down with injuries too. But when you have Boopie Miller, I just feel like, bro, he could win you games off the strength of just himself. Like, he's scoring, he's facilitating.
40% from 3.
Exactly. So I think, again, they win that game versus Miami, Ohio. They're going to advance. And they're going to see – where am I at? They're going to see either Tennessee. Yeah, they're going to see Tennessee in the first round. They can beat Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be a tough ask. That's a tough ask. But I think the crucial thing is, too, remember, Andy Enfield is the same coach that led Dunk City in the Sweet 16 a few years ago at Florida Gulf, or a long time ago at Florida Gulf Coast, right? So, like, you have answers, you have weapons, and I feel like SMU just got pieces, bro. Like, honestly. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be tough again because, like, they're not a great defensive team and that they can be inconsistent. But when you have a guard like that, like Boopie Miller, you could go places. And I can honestly see them doing that. So, like I said, they win their first 4 game. They could beat Tennessee. Then they're probably going to have to see Virginia or Wright State, more than likely Virginia. They could beat Virginia. And, again, being that they're in the ACC, they have familiarity already with Virginia, right? So I think that's another thing. And they probably have to see either Iowa State, Santa Clara, Kentucky. So, like, I'm going with SMU. I really want to go with VCU, though, too, just because, again, they're an 11 seed. They play Carolina in the first round. And then after that, I mean, I'll be honest, Illinois is very good. Do not get it twisted. Illinois is very, very good. But you've seen Illinois has gotten big leads, and they've let it go.
Yeah.
They did it versus UCLA. They did it versus a few teams. So, like, I can see either one of those teams between VCU or SMU, honestly.
All right. A few more things before I let you go. Appreciate you coming on the pod again, my guy. Final 4. Who's your Final 4?
Ooh, man. Okay, so I just did it. Let me pull it up for you guys real quick. My Final 4 is going to be my Spartans. And, again, I'm putting my bias to the side. I like to put my bias aside, but I'm still going with my Spartans. That is a heart pick, but I'm going with Michigan State out the East. I'm going with Houston out the South. I'm going with Arizona out of the West, and I'm going with Iowa State out of the Midwest. I think that's how it's going to shake out. Me personally, I think that's the 4 that I really just tend to believe in. Again, with Iowa State out the Midwest, Arizona out the West, Houston out the South, and Michigan State out the East. I just think it's crazy to say it because you got to think that's 3 Big 12 teams, right? Like, yeah. And that the chance of that happening is very small, even though I think the SEC had 2 teams last year with Florida and Auburn playing each other. But I really just feel like that's going to how it shake out. Like, Iowa State just matches up so well with Michigan. And then, again, Arizona's Arizona. And then when you look at Houston, to me, Houston is the only team that can beat Florida in the South just because, again, they have the guard play to do so. And then, yeah, it's going to be a lot to ask for with their front court. But I do think they can get the job done, especially being that, remember, these 2 teams last year played each other in national championship games. So I do think Houston's going to have some revenge on their minds. And then for my team, again, it is a major task and a major ask to do so to get out that East. But I just think, again, it's only 4 teams that are prepared to get out that East, and it's us, it's y'all, it's St. John's, and it's UConn. And honestly, if I had to rank those, I'd probably go St. John's, you guys, us, and UConn last. And me personally, I just feel like, yes, I am partially being biased, but I'm also putting my bias to the side. But I just think it's time. Like, we haven't been to the Final Four since 2019, as you mentioned, with Cassius Winston. And I think Izzo is hungry, and I think he's kind of licking his chops at this opportunity. And there's no better coach that you really want to have right now in this type of situation in this region than the one and only Tom Izzo.
No, that's I wouldn't be surprised if we could see 3 Big 12s, because those are 3 really good Big 12 teams. It's not just, those are really 3 good teams. And obviously Michigan State, it wouldn't surprise me if they make a run too. Something tells me we're still sleeping on UConn. I know they've had this struggle, but it's UConn, it's Hurley. I know people have their feelings about Coach Hurley, but they still have a good team. Like, I know they, like I said, ups and downs. They still got a good team. Like I said, I when I do a bracket, I know I usually have Duke always going far. I don't know about the injuries. I as of now, we don't know. We might not know till we get to that second game what the status of Pat and Knox. And I think that is massive, because that is going to really dictate, how far I think they can go. So for me, my Final Four, and I haven't even done an official one, but I'll say it right here. I want to pick St. John's too in a way too. New York, it's part of me. I'm going to go UConn. Comes out the East. In the South, I'm going to go with the Cougars. In the West, I'm going to go with Arkansas.
Wow. I can see that too.
I'm going with Arkansas. And in the Midwest, I'll go with the Wolverines. I think they'll get it done. So my Final Four will be Arkansas going against Michigan, UConn going against Houston. I will go with Houston beating UConn, Arkansas beating Michigan, and I'm going with Arkansas winning the national championship. Darius Acuff has a Kemba-like run, and he solidifies himself as a top 3 to 4 pick. Maybe he might even go number 1 at this point. He's that special. Billy Richmond, Trayvon Brazile, they have the guys. Maybe they get Carter Knox back. I don't know. Something about Coach Cal and this team says that they're going to make a run. And I feel like if there's ever a year they're going to make a run with the balance with freshmen, like the young guys and older vets, I think this is it. I think I like this I've liked this Arkansas team since preseason. I'm gonna go Arkansas. This is off top. I'm gonna go Arkansas wins the national championship.
Wow.
And for Coach Cal, it's another monkey off his back, because he hasn't won a national championship since what? 2012?
Yeah. Yep.
12 with Anthony Davis. So it's been a while, and he's had. How many teams have he had that you're like, how did that team win the national championship? How did that team win the national championship? Like, number 1 picks, multiple first round picks, multiple lottery picks, future MVPs we're talking about. There's something about Acuff, and I don't know. I'm gonna go with it. And if they get bounced early, I'll live with it. But I'm gonna go. If I'm taking off the non-Duke fan hat. Because obviously I'm rooting for Duke to win that ship. Let's just get that. It's like you're rooting for Michigan State to win it. I'm rooting for Duke. But if Ngogwa's not there, and just because of the toughness of our region, and just not, it couldn't, like you said, it could just be that, hey man, we just it was just one of them nights. It was a dog fight, and we played against a team that has a lot more vets. I'm gonna go Arkansas Razorbacks, national championship. So that'll be my pick.
Yeah, so to round it out, after my Final Four picks, like I said, it'll be Michigan State versus Houston and Arizona versus Iowa State. I'm gonna go Michigan State ends up getting to the national championship game and then losing to Arizona. And I hate to say that.
No, Kev, no. You get there.
No, I'm not going to. If I'm being real, if I'm being honest, like putting on my CBB hat, which I do for these shows, Arizona's clearly a better team than my team. Like I'm just being honest. Like they got too much size. I do think it will be a fascinating matchup, but in order for us to win that, it has to be a few different guys that played over their natural standard. So,
but you have the coaching advantage.
For sure.
And that means something. Yeah, Arizona has the talent. They definitely have the talent edge, but they don't have Tom Izzo.
True, but I think again at this point, when you get to like them Sweet 16, Elite 8 stages, Final 4 stages, at the end of the day, players got to make plays, bro. Like, and that's just what happened. I just trust Arizona. Arizona has a deeper roster for those guys. Like, we wouldn't be surprised if Braden Burries goes for 20 plus, or if Jaden Bradley goes for 20 plus, or if Mo Crevis has 15 and 15. Like, that's more than likely to happen. For us, it would be like Jeremy Fears has to have a monster game. Jackson Kohler has to have a monster game. Cohen Carr got to catch like 4 bodies. Like, it would have to take a lot. And again, like I said, like, I wouldn't be surprised if my team does do it. Like, I'm telling you, like, I feel like the reason that you guys, Arizona, all these top tier teams are prepared because they play these tough non-conference games. Now,
we've talked about this, but non-conference, like, I'll never take a team serious if their non-conference is against. And I think that's probably why people, Miami, Ohio, were like, I don't think, because they're playing Division II teams. Yeah. Like, even if you lose those games, it's good to play because that prepares you for this. This is the goal. The goal is to get to March. The goal is to play in this tournament. And you need to play against, even if win or lose, you need to play. So when you get, because guess what? You're going to be playing these teams in this position. So I think that's why I love what Duke does. Like, no, we'll play Michigan. We're going to play Michigan. We're going to play Michigan State. We're going to play whoever. We're going to play the top dogs, because that prepares us for March. And you guys do the same thing too. So like that's important, man. You're non-conference. You need to play someone.
Exactly. And I think the reason it's important too is because not only are you getting that experience, but then you know what the top tier teams look like. So when you run into these teams in these settings, nothing phases you, nothing moves you because you played against different teams with different styles and different coaches. So like I think that benefits everybody involved, and it definitely benefits the fans because that's what we want to watch, right? So I think, again, when you look at these teams, the Houstons, the Dukes, the Michigan States, the UConns, you're overly prepared for these moments. So when we end up in a region like the East region and we're seeing all these other tough teams, it doesn't surprise you because you've been through all the battles, right? Non-conference and in conference. So I think that's what the game is all about, man. You want to see the best play the best. And when you see a region that has John Shire, Tom Izzo, Bill Self, Danny Hurley, Mick Cronin, it excites you. That's what it's all about, bro. Like I'm not tripping at anything. I want my team to play against the best so we can prove that even if we don't win, we're still up there and we're always going to go down with a fight, point blank, period. So that's just how I feel. And that's why I say I feel like my team could either lose in the second round or get to the national championship game. Like I just feel like that's what it is.
And I'm feeling you with Duke too. Like there's a world where I could see Ohio State clipping us. That's the match. Like I could see it. And maybe that's just when you get to March, things it's different than a regular game in December, playing Georgia Tech. But when it's a different pressure now. The pressure, like I said, playing against Georgia Tech in a December game is whatever, But now it's, hey, we lose, it's over. Yeah, it's over. So how do you handle that pressure? Especially you're still the Boozer brothers. I've got a lot of young guys on this team. Like they're still young, 18. You're still dealing with 18-year-olds. That's why we see a lot of the older. That's why we got clipped last year versus Houston.
Yep.
At 22, 23, 24-year-olds that know how to handle that compared to an 18-year-old in Cooper Flagg and Concanipple and Malawach. That's why what happened. So that's what I love about the tournament is we get that teams that are experienced who have 5 starters who are 23 years old going against a team who was a top 5, top 10 team all year who has 18, 19-year-olds and they get clipped and then everyone's wondering, but this team was better. But that team just had more experience and they were battle tested and they understood how to go through adversity. And that's one thing I worry about Duke. How do they handle the adversity? If there's a game, it's like, and they're down 10. Now they were down 10 versus, a couple times, but there's a different down 10. How do they handle that? So some of these young Arizona, how do they handle that? I know they got Jaden Bradley, but they got a bunch of other freshmen. How will they handle that situation? That's kind of why I like Michigan a lot more to go because they got a good group of vets that've been there. Yaxel's their best player. He's 23 years old. He's been through it. Same thing with you guys. So it's the best time of the year, man. It's legit the best time. March is the best time of the year. It's the best year where everything going on with sports and you got baseball, World Baseball Classic. We got football free agency, NBA playoffs about to heat up. Obviously, March Madness. It really is the greatest time of the year, and couldn't have it a better guest than my guy Kev on the podcast. When I say he knows his stuff, man, he's one of the best. I really admire what he does, and that's my guy. So, Kev, always a pleasure having you on the pod, bro.
Likewise, man. I appreciate you for having me on, bro. I was glad to chop it up, man. Always. You already know how it is.
We'll get back. I'll get you back on the pod. We'll talk about whether we're really going to be really happy that we advanced to Sweet 16, or we are going to be depressed because our team did not advance. So for me, y'all haven't won a national championship since what, 2000, right? Who'd y'all beat again?
Florida,
right. Florida. That was the Mike Miller Florida team, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we haven't won since 2015.
Yep.
2015. That feels like
over
a decade ago, and that was an all freshman team.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much all freshman team. So, we got a little bit of droughts. The last year should have ended it, but that was still bothers me. I remember there's certain losses you'll never, you did some losses you probably exactly where you were, where you were going. I remember verbatim like what I did. So hopefully it's a different feeling. We'll see how Boozer does, being, he's going to win probably National Player of the Year, how he does, see how, if Coach Izzo can get back and do his thing, can Florida repeat as the national champions? Can Tommy Lloyd get the job done in Arizona? Dusty May, there's a lot of great stuff. Coach Cal was mentioned before. Can Coach Cal get it done? Lucas, first year head coach at Miami. Can he make a run? He's done a really good job at Miami. Can Richard Pitino take? And I forgot that we mentioned that, but like the fact that a Big East team, like he won Big East outright, and they were just a 5 seed. Because I know I know the Big East is down, but that was still like a 5 seed. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I know they got punked by UConn not too long ago, but they punked the UConn in the chip, who was a 2 seed.
Exactly, for real.
It doesn't really make sense. I don't know. That was one of the things. I think that they got it right relatively, the committee. I know the people were bugging about Miami of Ohio, but like they only lost one game. I know they lost in the first round they should have took care of business, but they only lost one game. They deserved to be. I know they didn't play anyone, but they deserve to be in. You got to give them credit for that, especially over Auburn. Like that was
definitely.
But that was the one thing, the seeding wise, that was a little like, I know UConn may be better, but St. John's won it outright, and for that to be a significant difference in the two, that was the one thing. But I think relatively they got it right. But like I said, going to be a good one, good tournament. We got first 4 in today, and then we get ready. When's the first games? This weekend, right?
Thursday.
We got the first set of first round games. So let's do it. Kev, tell the people where they can find you and any work you got coming up.
Yes, sir, man. All my social media, Twitter, Instagram is at Kev Luke the Great, KevLukethaGreat. I just put out my last podcast showing St. John's Love. It's Talking Hoops with Kev Luke on all podcast platforms, wherever you listen to your podcast. So, yeah, man, stay tuned. Enjoy these games. Prezi, again, I appreciate you for having me. Shout out to Off the Ball as always, man. Y'all keep tapping in, keep subscribing, liking, all that great stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'll definitely talk to you guys soon for sure. For sure. Make sure to follow me at Off the Ball Pod on all social media platforms, Instagram. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. We're approaching 700 subscribers, so let's hopefully get there very soon. Make sure to tap in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Just tap in, leave a 5-star rating, and all that good stuff. But on that point, be well, be safe,
Take care. Enjoy the tournament. We out.
Peace.
Start spreading the news.